All right, thanks for tuning back into To Be Fair, a podcast hosted by Aaron Jordan Peterson, and that's me. With me today, I have a special blast from the past episode that I'm doing first off with our new YouTubes and all this stuff. Yes, I say YouTubes. And today joining me is the lovely LaVonne Effinger. How are you doing, Ashley?
I'm good. How about you?
Oh my God, I'm excited about this. I haven't talked
Me
to you
too.
in forever. You've literally just been a social media friend forever.
Agreed.
So just a quick intro for Ashley. So Ashley, or so you listeners and viewers know who Ashley is in my uh, connection with me is I moved to Duluth in about 2005. Took a little year to wait to do any theater. By 2006, I auditioned for a little musical at the Duluth Playhouse called West Side Story, to which I did not get cast, but I know Ashley was in, right?
Yep, that was my very first show with the Playhouse.
That was the first one, and it was not mine. But that was okay. So go ahead and tell a little bit about yourself, and we'll get into it.
Sure. All right. So I am Ashley LaVonne Effinger. I currently am a mom. I've got two little kiddos, Alaric, who is 6, going to be 7, and Miss Aurora, who is 4. Now I live in central Minnesota, so I'm originally born and bred Proctor Duluth girl. And then actually spent a year out east pursuing theater at the time. How about 2 weeks before I left to do summer stock in Maine, I found out that I was pregnant with Alaric. So it's just a quick little stint. I was out there for a couple months and then came home. And then me and my partner, David, found a place in Little Falls, which is just right in the center of Minnesota. And so then we've been here since. So I think it's like 7 years now, which is crazy, a little over 7 years. I work for the county. That's what I've been doing since I was 18 or 19 years old. Other than I've took a couple breaks in between there, and then I try to get theater and dance into my life whenever I can, which is a little less often than I'd like now that I'm a
Yeah.
mom. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Well, yeah, and that's a long road I mean, when I look back at when we first met, it doesn't seem like that long ago. Did we really turn into adults over that
I
time?
know.
Like, has it really been? I mean, we're talking 2006.
I don't want to know. Don't tell me how long it's been.
Well, if I told you right now, it would be drastically crazy. But so yeah, okay. So anyway, yes, and Little Falls, I don't believe is very far from my town. I mean, it's
We're about, I think, an hour 45 because I've got a girlfriend that lives in Deer River, which I know is just
yep,
a bit away.
that's yeah,
So yeah, I can go, like, I'll go up through like Emily and
Reamer.
yes, yep.
That's the town I grew up in.
Was Reamer?
Reamer.
With
Yeah.
that's the one with the Bigfoot, right?
Yes. It
Okay.
did not have anything to do with Bigfoot when I lived there. That's a
Okay.
relatively new development, I think, even within the last 10 years. And
Oh,
actually, Amy Koivisto worked on a production when they did Finding Bigfoot there
oh,
on the
nice.
production crew. Yeah. So it was kind of cool. Um,
Oh, all these
so
names of people that I just love.
I know, and Amy's from Hibbing, which is also in my realm area. She
Yeah.
spends a lot of time in Grand Rapids as well. Uh, but so yeah, it's that is one of those nice things is having people from my attachment to Duluth, because those are some of the best, most cherished years, especially during the time where I met you. I was going through a lot of growing pains.
Mhm.
And I had auditioned for West Side Story. I dragged Drew Audio with me. Um, one sec here.
Yep.
I dragged him to audition for that. And I did not know that he was going to get the lead.
Tony.
Yeah. And I was going to get squat.
Like, damn
Uh,
it, man.
I begged him. He did not want to go audition for West Side Story. He was like, but he promised me that once I decided I was going to audition for a show, he would go with me. So I held him to it. And he went, and we auditioned, and that was my first interaction with Christine Seitz. As a choreographer. I know, we love her, but this was my first interaction. Was like, oh god,
Pow,
this
pow,
woman is
pow,
not
pow.
Yes, this woman is not like any other choreographer I've ever met or worked with in any other production. Like she is on a whole different level that she created herself.
Agreed.
And that's why I respect the woman so much. She's literally in my book that you, let's just say I'm writing my memoir or whatever, if I'm writing one, she has a very cherished but dramatic spot in the story. And I'm sure
1000% me too.
yes.
Exactly. You know?
I think Jen and I talked about that as well. A lot of times, especially during Chicago.
Yep.
Like that was a quite an interesting time because I think we all had a new version of Christine we were
Yes.
working with because she was the
Like this
director.
does not look fierce and sexy and do it again.
I know, and then you got cute, bubbly Ashley here, just like always, like you're adaptable to play everything, but you love being cute. You're a cute
Yes.
person. You're adorable. That's who you are. And you like all of a sudden you have an eye patch.
Like, and I'm gonna stab my husband 10 times, damn it.
And then okay, so I did not get into West Side Story, but that did not stop me from auditioning. I auditioned for the next musical, which was Once Upon
Once
a
Upon a
Mattress.
Mattress. I thought
And
that was our first one together.
that's where we met. You and I met, and it
Mhm.
was just delightful because we were in the ensemble together. And I think, I think that whole show, I did not feel a detachment between the principals and ensemble, which usually you feel. You can
Yep.
feel that somewhere, especially as the Playhouse grew. I did start to feel that a lot
Mhm.
more, not in necessarily a completely bad way, but it was very real.
Right. And it became more like towards the end, was the leads had their own dressing room area. And I don't think they had that when we were
When we
first doing
first
it.
started, I'm pretty sure we were all just like we boys were
Wherever we
thrown
could find a
into
mirror.
what became a private dressing room for two people. It was
Yep.
the room that like 6 or 7 of us boys had to crowd
Yep.
in, and it was smelly and awful, and you did not spend any more time in that room than you had to. I mean, we had in that show we had Drew, we had Andy Romehilt, we
And
had
Nick, right?
who?
Nicholas,
Oh,
I think
Nick,
who.
yeah, he was in there. I'm sorry, yes, Nick. I was thinking ensemble people at the time, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
Drew
yeah.
wasn't ensemble either. Because Drew was a replacement. Drew wasn't cast
Oh,
in Once Upon a Mattress.
I didn't know that.
He wasn't. He was. I think Abe Kieran was supposed to play Sir Harry.
Okay.
If I recall, that could be like could be really bad information, but I believe he might have been cast if I recall the conversation, but then he had to back out, and so Drew came in.
Seth was in it because I remember he was my dance partner.
Seth, that I met all of you guys during that time, and yes, Seth was your dance partner when you had to do a lot of different featured dance stuff.
Yeah.
Like you two were like the featured dancers of
I
the
know. This
show.
is so cool.
Um, I remember our choreographer Leanne.
Hmm.
She told me I had a really good turnout, and that gave me such promise. I'm like, oh my god, I could be a dancer.
Yes.
And I took a few dance classes with Christine and Elise,
Yep. Yeah.
and Paige, a few different dance classes that I really liked, but unfortunately, I at the age I was at, I had to work all the time. I didn't have time to focus or afford to pay for these.
Yep.
So, um, after Once Upon a Mattress, and then we did Scrooge the musical. Were you in that one?
I feel like I was. See, this is the hard part. I'm always like, okay, so we're gonna do Blast from the Past, but literally, I feel like there are
I
moments
know.
of like
So
years that just kind of like fade
they
away.
They did because you and I had this intersecting thing, like nothing, like I think the next show after Mattress was Hello Dolly, which I was cast in with you guys, but I had to back out of.
Okay.
And that was because I took a job at the Radisson and I was working evenings.
I don't even hardly remember Hello Dolly. I mean, I have parts of it, but oh my lord.
So that's the one that brought Quincy into the picture of now
Okay.
I had met Quincy at the gay bars at the time and we were doing a little bit of drag together. Like we were
Okay.
pretty novice drag queens.
Yeah.
And then we both auditioned for Hello Dolly, both got into the chorus. I had to quit and then Quincy and I became closer friends through drag and I remember then auditioning for Cats.
Oh yes.
I'm I'm not bitter. Mm. So I remember us after the audition for Cats. I think we all went. It was you, me, Quincy, uh, Delilah, and Jake all went back to Quincy's place to hang out and wait for callbacks because
Oh,
because Quincy was supposed to perform in a drag show at UMD that night too. Do
was
you
that
remember?
the one because I was supposed to perform in one at UMD with them, and then I think we were late,
Yes,
and then they kicked us
that's the
out. They were like,
one. Yes,
"No."
that's why we were at Quincy's because you two were getting ready together, getting makeup. You were going to perform with him, and then
Yep.
we got there and it was too late. Like he could not get in. And this was Quincy's problem. I love him to death, but
Yep.
he's notoriously late. Like without people minding him too much. Like he was notoriously late for everything.
I am a little bit too, but I'm getting better.
But I remember it. We were hanging out at his apartment, and we got like you guys got dressed. We all went up together to this show, and
And then we
he
went and did we go to get margaritas somewhere? I
we
feel like we
did
went, okay.
but there's a factor missing. As we were leaving dramatically from UMD premises because Quincy could not perform, and we're getting downstairs, and all of a sudden people's phones start ringing, and all of a sudden Delilah gets a call back for Cats. And I'm like, oh, yay, happy for you. And all of a sudden, I think you get a call back for Cats. Jake gets a call back for Cats. And Quincy and I are just like, nope, not us. It's really okay. I'm not that bitter. It's just I still remember this. I thought I was on top. Even Alan came up to me after and said that like I was doing really good for not being a trained dancer. Like he was
Yeah.
really impressed. So I was like, why the hell didn't I get cast then?
You're like,
I I feel like
don't butter me up and then not give me a damn role.
I feel like there was some bitterness from Christine or something from when I
Wow.
had to back out of Hello Dolly. I don't know. I mean, that's a true thing that happens, but
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
yeah, but I didn't want it to be like the factor. So then, of course, the next musical I did was Scrooge, and that's why I feel like you were in that.
I think I was
I
too,
don't
because
think
didn't
you were
they
in the
have,
full cast. I think you were just in some dance numbers.
I think so too. And because I want to remember, did they come up from
You
the
did a
floor? Did
toy
they like have
box. You did something with toys and kids with Priscilla was the
Yes, I think I was a ballerina,
you were a
like a
ballerina.
musical ballerina
Yeah.
person. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes.
Yes, because I remember you weren't at all our rehearsals, which were very, very long and very like dramatic. Um, but you weren't at all the rehearsals. But all of a sudden, I think once we got into tech, you were there, and
Okay.
yeah, and
Yep,
then you were hanging out with us backstage, and everything was right.
all right. Yep, that sounds yay! You're like bringing back these memories that I don't even remember. Like,
That's what we
good
do
feeling.
here.
Yes.
That's what we do here. Yeah. So, but let's jump back to Mattress a little because that was really fun cast and that was a fun
Yeah.
summer. I felt like I found my people with
Yep.
the cast of Once Upon a Mattress because I don't remember having any animosity in that cast with anyone
I
personally.
don't know.
There was drama, but it wasn't, it was like fun drama. Like, I
Yeah.
think there was drama with our stage manager
Oh,
was
I can't.
I think it was I want to say her name was Kalia.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
She had history with a lot of these actors. And I
Okay.
feel like it went back to West Side Story. Somehow she was a part of that program thing too. But
Yep.
um she was always like inappropriate with like younger, and I think she was almost 30 and she was inappropriate with like I'm pretty sure we had some
Like
17-year-olds in the cast.
that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um
because I want to say because Jesse was in it, and he
yep.
and Seth, and they were both, because that was what, 2006, 2007.
2006.
So I graduated 2005. So I would have been like 18, 19 at the time. So yeah, they were probably 16, 17, somewhere in that.
Yeah, so that's right because you were pretty young in that show too. You couldn't go out drinking with us legally.
Right? There was no 2 a.m. at a certain person's house. Never.
Never. I didn't get to go to a lot of late night things. I hung out with like Jen Burgum and Susie Wilfert and stuff a lot more.
Yeah,
Like
because you cool kids got to go out.
yeah, because well, I was 23.
Yep.
And yeah, and Drew was 25. Jen was 25, 26. Um And so I hung out with most people I could go drinking with, and that was not you.
No, it was not.
I'm pretty sure I want to say Delilah was just 21.
Yeah, because she was a year. older than me. So yeah, she was probably just 21.
Yeah, something like that. So I think we were taking her out a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we'd go to the gay bars a lot with the
Yeah,
cast, and certain people couldn't go, unfortunately, and you were one of those people that didn't get to have
I
those
was.
adventures. But um
Until Chicago, then I could drink.
you
And I did.
you were way over 21 during
I was.
Chicago. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wait.
I think I was like 25, maybe
I was gonna
24.
say because Chicago's a little bit that was 2010. That was 10 years
Oh,
ago now.
that's insane.
Yeah.
Maybe
See,
I was 23 because
the
I
memories.
studied in England. I think that was after I got back.
Yes, you guys went to England for a year.
Yep.
Like,
And I was over 21 at that point because everybody else was under 21 and they were
you
all like, we can drink. And I was
didn't you
like,
guys
welcome to the club.
didn't you guys turn 21 while you were over there?
I think it was just before because my birthday's in the summer. So I think I turned 21 and then we left in August and then we left in September, I
Okay.
think. Maybe I was 22. I don't remember. Something like that.
Maybe. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so that was an interesting summer. I remember going to the Deeps a lot.
Where the frick is the Deeps?
It's out in like past, like it's East Duluth, like Lakeside and further, like going up, like if you're in like the very lakeside part of Duluth,
Yes, maybe.
like if you're going towards Two Harbors,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It's there's a spot there. We used to go skinny dipping late at night.
Oh, that
We
makes,
would go,
I mean, I remember doing lots of that. I can't remember if it was there or not, but that
there
certainly
was
sounds about
there was
like all of.
There was one night after a performance, I had to drive all the way up into the hills, and drive somewhere up into, I'm pretty sure it was probably Hermantown by the time I was up there, that I had to drive up to, all up on the rocks and everything. I don't remember what we were doing, but I had to get back to the deeps, and by the time I got back to the deeps, everyone was already naked.
Like,
It
damn
was
it.
it was awkward. But it was also that was a very dramatic time too, because I had a lot of personal things going on that summer. I almost had to quit. I was so glad I didn't have to quit, but
Yeah.
there was a lot going on financially. I was like, I was working as a waiter at a restaurant in Superior for 270 an hour, and we were lucky to make tips.
Right.
So it was a stressor to do that. And then I was also taking shifts at Country Kitchen, which was still right where by Target. It's not there
Oh, yep.
anymore.
Yep.
Um, but I used to, yeah, I worked at that, and I was making so many tips because I was about to get kicked out of my apartment. It was such a dramatic summer.
Oh,
But Once Upon a Mattress was one of the things that kept me sane. I
yeah.
was also going through a really terrible breakup, and
Mm.
I was not letting go. I think you remember, well, they go by Emerson now, but
Oh,
Dennis,
yes, yes, yes.
yeah, that was a lot of drama that summer.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so that was the last time they really got involved too much in uh, theater directly like that, because they were doing a whole story on our show for the Reader
Mhm.
Weekly, which was
Mhm.
really cool because it really got up there. But let's see. So I did Scrooge, and then after Scrooge, I auditioned for shows like Full Monty,
Yep.
and Beauty and the Beast, and what else was that year? I think it was just those two I auditioned for at that time, and I got
Yep.
cast in neither.
Yep.
Again, Alan did not cast me in Beauty and the Beast, and I did not get into Full Monty. But I really liked the director for Full Monty was really good. You didn't do Full Monty, did you?
I didn't. No, I can't remember if I auditioned or not, but no, if I did, I didn't get in.
Okay, I don't remember you at auditions. I
Maybe I
don't
didn't.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember anyone. Everyone was really. You guys were all focused a lot more to Beauty and the Beast, especially Delilah. I remember that.
Right. She
Yeah,
got Belle. Hmm.
she did, and that was a dramatic story on its
Oh
own.
my gosh. Yeah, the split roll. Yeah, that
Ugh.
was, yep.
Yeah, every production of Beauty and the Beast that I've been involved in somehow or another had some of the most dramatic casting moments, especially for Belle. Like,
Dang.
yeah. Um, so I didn't get to do those, but Beauty and the Beast was kind of a perfect timing because Kate Kulas, who was your guys' music director, was
Yep.
my vocal teacher.
Oh,
So
nice.
kind of helped me get my feet back in there. And then, of course, we had found out what the shows that were going to be for the next season after Beauty and the Beast. And it was, um, I, I think it was, didn't they do Spelling Bee right away? Or wasn't,
Oh, they did, yeah. And
yeah.
I wasn't in that either. I must have, I don't,
No, but spelling, yeah, I was shocked you didn't do Spelling Bee, but that was a very small type of musical
yeah,
cast. So, and you and I were usually put into the bigger one.
ensemble.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think the next one I got to audition for was uh Rent, Secret Garden, and Producers. They were all casting at the same time because Cal was directing the producers.
I think this might have been the year that I was in England, I think.
Yes, because
Okay.
we did Chicago the year after.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, so this was the year. That's why you weren't. Yeah, so you weren't in Secret Garden, which you probably would have been in Secret Garden, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or you would have been in Rent. Yeah, but
Both of those would have been so fun.
it kind of seemed like they weren't casting like people who were doing Secret Garden and Rent there wasn't a lot of cross
Oh,
casting happening because they were so close together.
yep.
Um, and so I got into Secret Garden with Julie as a director and Kate as a music director, and it helped knowing Kate because she helped me get a more featured, prominent role in the show.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I
uh,
really liked Kate. She was so great. And
yeah,
like so sweet. Like she was talented and so freaking kind. She's got a big heart for her.
right. And I mean, and she also demands expectation. She has high
Mhm.
expectations for her singers and her
Yep.
musicians. So she's fantastic. Okay, so then I worked on Rent as an assistant stage manager, and then I worked on no, they didn't do Spelling Bee that fall before. They did Spelling Bee before Chicago, I think. But either way, so yeah, I worked on Rent, and then I did not do the producers. You weren't in the producers then.
I was in the
You were.
producers.
You got
Yep.
back in time to do the
That's
producers.
where I met Taryn. I think that was the first time we were in a show together was producers.
Yep. Taryn and I did Secret
Mhm.
Garden, and then
Oh, okay.
and then she was in producers. And then let's see. So then the following, I got a little bit stuck more. Well, while you guys were doing producers, I was doing Pirates of Penzance with Tanya
Oh,
Porter
yeah,
and
down at Bayfront.
Inga and Susie. What?
That was down at Bayfront, right? That they did
Yep.
that.
While
Nice.
you guys were doing that, so we got to come. All of us came to see one of your guys' preview nights, and
Okay.
I think you guys got to come. No, you guys didn't get to come see anything of ours.
Mhm.
That was sad.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of fun. It was that we got rained on a lot
Yeah.
when
Because
we
it was
did it.
during tall ships, right?
It was during Tall Ships,
Okay.
and I loved it. I had so much fun doing it. It gave another summer show to do like that.
Yep.
And I just had too much fun. But at that time I was working overnights, night auditing at a hotel.
Oh,
So my life was literally work overnight, go home, sleep, get up, go to rehearsal or performance, go back home, change, get ready for work, and then yeah. So my whole day was a total opposite of everyone else's.
yeah.
So I didn't get to socialize and have fun as much, and it wore on me after a while.
Mhm.
Um, so I wasn't having as much fun, and I kind of started to burn out. And then let's see, so we did Chicago, and that
Mhm.
was now Rent the year before. We had the best ensemble people in Rent, like, but the
Amazing.
principals were divas.
Oof.
Oh, all of them. Now, that I learned so much though from that. Like there was so much I took away from that. But yeah, it was really tough to work with a lot of the principals in that show because they kind of felt like they were entitled. I mean, they were doing Rent, and so like back off, like this is a big deal. I'm like, it's not like it's freaking Broadway. Like,
Right.
I mean,
I mean,
calm
we were
down.
as good as Broadway though, but it's not. No, I'm
Except
just
except that we had one black peer person in the whole cast.
ugh, right.
That was always the trick right there. We could never do some of the best shows because we
Oh
had
my god. Well, you even look at like what we did for West Side, and like, we had these like white Germans, like all the Effingers playing Puerto Ricans. And granted, I mean, there are light skinned Puerto Ricans, but still, I'm like, that is a,
I mean, yeah, luckily for them it was fine. But
yeah.
Drew was definitely not Puerto Rican. Oh, he was American anyway, so he was supposed to be
Yes,
Italian,
he's
so he was
Tony.
fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Anyway,
was Josh Bernardo, I think.
I don't remember your guys' cast for that because
Okay.
I
Oh,
wasn't
that's right.
part
You
of
would. Yep.
it. And I know I met a lot of people from that cast, but I didn't get to work with you guys.
Mhm.
Um, Chicago, of course, was the next show I got to work on with you,
Yep.
and but that was an interesting, dare I say, really interesting production. Um, I I can't even sometimes. When I've shared these stories with Jen, when we shared them from her perspective, it was
Yeah.
so. I mean, you had the. I had to say, like, not that anyone was so totally bitchy, but it was
Mhm.
opposite rent. The chorus, the ensemble of people in Chicago was some of the most painful, annoying people I could work with.
Come on now.
Hey, you were one of the exceptions, you know. The girls were usually pretty good. It was the boys we had to keep an eye on. They were the
Yeah.
ones that were hiding booze up in the ceiling,
Oh my God, I forgot. Like in the tile.
taking shots. I would walk in and I would see
I
Steph.
never did that. I never partook
Yes,
in
you
that
did.
ever.
Yes, you totally did. I caught all of you a couple times. There were a few times that I probably should have told on you because it probably
Mhm.
could have stopped what
Yeah.
happened by a performance.
Yep.
Like,
That was the bit of my like rocky like history was I definitely was like hit that party hard scene like and not that I hadn't like I'm not going to say that I drank underage on a video which I didn't but
why is
like
I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations is over.
oh good okay
Oh God, I just lost light. Hang on.
oh
There, I'm good. I'm good.
okay um but yeah there was a point where it was like like I would still like go out and party, but then I would like get up, go to work, and be a completely functioning normal person. And I was very dedicated to my art form and not fucking around kind of.
Yeah.
And then I hit this point in my life where I was like very comfortable with it and with the people, and these were my friends, and this was like a chance to party and have a bunch of people watch me. Like there was, like we all have points that we look back on and we're like, oh my God,
Ugh.
like I'm
Chicago's one
lucky
of
that
those.
things right. Like I'm happy things turned out the way that they did.
I
But
think we
Lord, there are times I'm like,
Yeah. I think we had an amazing show. I think it was a
yeah,
fantastic, well put together show, and I think you guys were all amazing. Um, I was having fun because I didn't want to be in the cast of that show, even though I love the show. It was just too dance heavy, and I no, no. No, I'm an actor, singer, dancer, and dancer is like in that order.
yep,
Like I can dance in the background if you just need me to be moving, I can try. I mean, I remember I spent it pretty much on Once Upon a Mattress when I had to do a lot of dancing with those boys up there,
yep,
all the stuff as the nights. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I was having fun, but I could never do that again.
yeah,
Never. I mean, there were times where Andy and I would have to be out there and he would be helping me like get the steps down, but that was a lot of movement for someone who didn't have a lot of dance training. I was faking the
yeah.
shit out of that.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, and so Chicago, yeah, but I enjoyed being the assistant stage manager for Chicago, and I got to be backstage with you guys, and I wore black, so I got to fit in. So if I was out on stage for any
Right.
reason, I looked like you. I was good. But uh, I remember there was a lot of drama with that because
Mhm.
for some reason that was the show that everybody got too comfortable with being in everything at the play. We
Yeah,
acted like we owned the place.
we did.
Yeah, we were the chorus. We were the company of
Yep.
the Duluth Playhouse at that time. And I'm a little jealous because the company now gets paid.
Like, dude, why couldn't I just hung out a little bit longer?
Yes. But I mean, so I think there was some retribution happening there in some ways.
Yeah.
But like the booze was flowing in that show, and we
Mhm.
all knew it. There was like it
Mhm.
was jokes going around, but until it became a problem, I think we had one day where we were doing back-to-back shows.
Yep.
We didn't have time in between the shows, so we were literally, I think, grilling out Cal and some other guys were
Yes.
grilling out like off
Yep.
the
By the trains in the
yes. And so we didn't have time to mess around. So it was like I think burgers and dogs and stuff that were getting grilled out, and it was like eat, and then we got another show to do.
Yeah.
And I did like that though, that camaraderie we had like
Mhm.
and stuff. Like we were, and we'd have fun. We'd sit and we'd socialize and like back down in the green room, and
Mhm.
we'd play games. We'd have inside jokes. It was so much fun. But I do specifically remember I was the one that unfortunately found that Dan Riley was his name, I think,
Yeah.
was not going to be able to go on.
Yeah.
And I was the first
That
of
that
the,
was that I think that was Paige's sister
yeah,
Aurora's
there was,
boyfriend, right?
yes, Aurora's
Yes.
boyfriend, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And there was a lot of drama there too. There was so much drama there. But I know he had a heavy drinking problem.
Mhm.
And it was, and so like there was a lot of drinking before shows and of course or after, like at the night. And so of course we had a matinee, I think at 2, so call time was noon, and he showed up and he was not
Yeah.
capable of going on stage. And so me and Shannon Sweeney, the stage manager and stuff, we had to go get Seth, and I think we had to pull in another person.
Yeah, 'cause
Seth didn't do a certain dance on Baby, Me and My Baby, the one that Sarah had to do, and then he and I want to say it was Jesse had to do.
because
It's Dan
yeah,
and
because
Jesse.
I can't even remember who my partner was. Was it Dan?
I'm pretty sure because
I think
like
it was, yeah, because then I had to have a different person come
we
into
had to
my
we
that's
had to do a quick
right.
re-choreography of everything, like within, like I think this was minutes before the show, because
Uh-huh.
Dan hadn't shown up for call time as it was, so we
Yep.
were already preparing to like this. So like I think we'd already been preparing, and they were going through all the different things because Steph had to just jump in. Like
Yep.
there was no time to talk about
No.
what, it was literally boom, and then Christine shows up and we're like, oh fuck. And because we know we're not in trouble, but it doesn't matter. Once Christine's mad, everyone's in
Well,
trouble.
and you talk about the eye patch, so she was already kind of pissed at me about the eye patch, which really was not my fault to start with.
We all encouraged you to do it. I
Well, right.
remember.
Well, and I legit did need it for like 2 performances because I slept in my contacts, and so I got an ulcer in my eye, so I had to wear the eye patch, and then
Yeah,
everyone's like, "Yeah, it's badass, just keep it." And so then I did, and
we thought
Christine
it
was
was great.
like,
We thought it fit, but she's like, really, really, like,
and so then here's my partner that's like too drunk to dance with me, and I'm like, "I swear to God, it's not me." I mean, I definitely was a problem too, but this is not my fault.
there was so much drama with
Yes,
that
there was.
show, and I remember that, and so Christine made him go sleep in her office. Yep. During the
Oh
afternoon
my
performance.
God.
Yep, and Seth had to go in on all of his parts. I think Seth had to do most of his because um, he was on stage different times than Seth. But
Okay.
then there were a couple times where somebody else had to do it, I think. But
Yeah.
Seth was more like, it was a lot on Seth to have to do for one performance. He had to
Yeah.
jump in, and he did it flawlessly.
Oh, because dude, so much he's got so much talent, that kid.
I love that
I
kid.
say kid because he was 2 years younger than me. That kid.
Is he really? Oh, I have a big crush on Seth. So
Oh, well,
oh yeah.
it's easy to see why.
Yeah, he's adorable.
Yeah.
He when I moved to Shakopee back in 2015, he actually moved down there at the time, and I was gonna hire him at the hotel I was managing.
Oh,
Yeah, but he didn't show back up for a second interview.
yeah, he kind of does that sometimes too.
Yeah, yeah, but and then I was doing a show in Shakopee, and Kate Kulas was actually our music director that I got her for us. I hired her for it, and we found out Seth was there, and she's like, "You should get him in the show." 'Cause we did a whole Pippin song and dance number, so it would have just been great to put him in there to do something.
Ah,
But um, yeah, uh, so yeah, I remember that, and then he was back on his feet, ready for Dan was ready to perform the
yeah,
second show
that
that
evening.
evening. But that was an intense, dramatic show, and like there was a lot riding because this was kind of the point where the Playhouse was starting to change and grow,
Mhm.
like at these points. I mean, we had just found out that year, I think, that we were going to do. We got the rights for
Is that the
Hair.
North Shore? Oh, that was. Oh, okay.
We got. What'd you say?
I was gonna say if that's when they got in with the North Shore or not. I
They
couldn't
did. I
remember when
mean,
that
that was when
happened.
they were starting to talk about that. Like the partnership with the Playhouse and the North Shore really had
Mhm.
started to take off then,
Yep.
but there was so much work that needed to be done with that North Shore that it just.
Yeah.
Uh,
Took so long, and then there was all the like delays because the city needed to have some stuff up to code, and yeah.
Yeah. So there was so much going on, and so it didn't seem like that was going to happen anytime soon.
Mhm.
And we were all getting our hopes up that we were going to perform on an awesome stage in the North Shore.
I never got to do it. That's my one regret.
Yeah. And then let's see. So I think that might have been the last time you and I, oh no, that wasn't the last time you and I worked together. We had that following summer, we did Little Shop of Horrors at the
Oh yes,
Yes, that was a fun production that came in
that was
being
so
in a
much
very
fun.
interesting way.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Um, yeah, it was Tanya Porter was working at the box office with Corey.
Yep.
Um, and uh no, yeah, Corey Riley. Yeah, Corey Riley. I was trying, yes,
Yep.
because he had just done Rent as Angel.
Okay.
He was Angel in Rent.
Oh, and I could totally see that.
And then we did Picnic. He was a small part in Picnic. But then that was the show I was working on with Picnic that Michelle Jutton got asked by Corey and Sarah and everyone to direct Little Shop,
Yep.
and she'd never directed a musical. And so she's like, I'll do it if I can have Aaron as my stage manager. And I was like, ah. Like I was both honored and terrified at the same time that she asked me to do this because I was really comfortable being an assistant stage manager when April was there to be my stage manager.
Yep.
But when it came to me having to be the one to make the calls, I was like, oh crap. It was it's a lot. And
Yeah.
we had a small theater to do it in, like and
Right. Tiny dressing room.
a very tight schedule because you were doing Into the Woods at that time too.
I was. Yep.
Yeah. So you were doing Into the Woods, and then yeah, and you didn't have much of a dressing room, and we cast so many more people than needed to be in that show.
Yep.
I mean,
But it was so good. I loved it so much.
it was like we dressed you guys up as hookers. It
Yeah,
was
it was great. And I had the best freaking beehive that there ever was ever.
who was doing the hair for that? Was that?
I don't
I
even
think it was
remember. I
Derek.
don't think it was me
No,
because
I
I
think it was
don't think I'm
Derek.
that talented, but the sucker was like, I mean, it was like 6 inches. It was so great.
I think it was Derek that did that.
Oh, you're right.
Because he was
Yep.
in the show, I think too. I want to say maybe he wasn't in the show. I'm so confused. Somebody did your guys' hair though, and it was great.
Yeah.
And Quincy was helping backstage with your guys' stuff,
Yep.
but like that was a dramatic show too because that was the show that actually decided that I wasn't going to be a stage manager for the Duluth Playhouse. And that was mostly just because there was so much that I didn't understand about it, but I thought I did. And
Mhm.
I felt like a lot of people were expecting that I was just supposed to get this instant download of it all, and it didn't happen. I learned.
Yeah.
I tried, but I got, it is what it is.
Well, it went beautifully. So you must have done something right because, not having a good stage manager can break a show. So obviously, I mean, it was probably very stressful and you hated it. So I get why you didn't do it, but you did well.
I think I still cherish the memories I made in that show.
Mhm.
But there was a lot going on and a lot happening. And I was also starting a new job that year. And so it was although I was starting a new job every year, so it didn't matter. But that was the year I decided I was going to leave the hospitality industry. Um, so after that, I returned to the hospitality industry back into the Radisson, and I grew into management, and I left the area, and I
Yeah.
haven't been back to Duluth since. I mean, living wise,
Mhm.
but I would go back to Duluth in a heartbeat if there was one place that I um, could ever live that I've been before
Mhm.
would be Duluth. There's other places I'd like to go, but
Yep.
yeah. So I know a lot of things have changed for you too along the way. So
Yes.
let's share a little bit about you since mostly it was memory lane. But first off, I
Yeah.
want to know what all that stuff is behind you.
Oh, so this is my little posh hideout. So one of the fun little things I do after I had my daughter, because I was like a Bath and Body Works junkie. Like I shop there and I'm like, oh, I want all those smells. And then when I had the kids, I was like, I want to try like more natural and essential oil kind of stuff. So then I was like using goat milk and, you know, like just lavender soap, and that's fine and lovely. And if people want to do that, that's great. But I want to smell like tropical drink a lot of times. So my cousin-in-law had this party, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy this kit because I'm all about saving money. And I was like, I already have about this much stuff, and this gets me like 4 times as much, so I'm just gonna buy this kit. And then I liked it, and then I'm also like, I'm a very goal driven person, and I attribute most of this to theater because like there's an end goal. So like you do this, you do your rehearsals, and then you get this thing at the end. And so like I feel like that's always like, I think that's pushed me to be so goal driven. So anyways, long story short, they had these goals. They're like, if you sell this much, you get like $100 worth of free stuff. And I was like, I want the free stuff. And now this is my wall. So I've been, it's called Perfectly Posh.
Yep, I've actually
like,
heard of it.
Oh,
Maybe,
nice. Yeah.
maybe it's because of you.
Could be. I started very like, I don't want to post this on my wall because I don't want to be like a salesy person or whatever. And now just because it's so much like intertwined in my life. Plus I got to go to Cancun for free in end of September.
Fun.
So like oh my God, it was so great. So this whole pandemic's happening, it's crappy. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to earn this. And then I earned it. And I was like, holy shit. Well, then I had to apply for my passport because my passport had expired like a year before. And it was during COVID. So I literally got my passport for this trip on a Saturday and we left on a Monday. Like, I did not think I was going to make that shit. But anyways, so yeah, so now I hawk it, I sell. It was nice because I did it right after my daughter was born. And it was kind of hard being in a new town because I didn't know, you know, like, especially when we do theater, like you are in people's lives. You know, it's not like you work with these people and then you go home. It's like that is your life. And so when I came here, I had kids. And so I didn't have the opportunity to make those intense, easy, quick friendships. So this was just kind of something fun for me to do outside of like the regular day job and hanging with my family, which I love. But
yeah.
So that's all of this shiat behind me. So otherwise, I have been very blessed that when I moved here, the summer that I moved here, my pseudo father-in-law is a superintendent. And so he had mentioned to the director of the middle school at the time that I dance. So they were doing a show about zombies and they wanted to do the Thriller dance. And I was like, no way. I was like, I totally know that. I would be happy to come in and choreograph these kids. So then I choreographed for them that year. And then the director left. And so then I applied, the principal at the time had said, is this something you might be interested in doing? And I was like, well, shit, I've done theater forever, but I've never directed anything. So this is terrifying, but okay, maybe. And so then I did it and it was so much fun. Like, you know, it's working with middle school kids, which most people are like, oh my God, that must be terrible. And it's really not, because I'm kind of
especially a theater director.
Right. And like, so like these kids are like already like they're auditioning for this in middle school because it's something that they're passionate about, you know, like it's not because they want it for, their for college application or anything. It's like, really, they're like, I like to do theater. And that sometimes gets them really intense people that are like super wild little kids. And I'm like, okay, just tone it down a little bit.
But it's good you get those kids with the energy so that you get to tone them back. You'd rather have them
and it brings me that peace because I think no matter what, and sometimes like this year especially, I'm teaching dance now, which, oh my Lord, that was a whole nother thing that I was like, I can't teach. Like I took dance in college, but never graduated.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I don't know. I didn't grow up doing dance. I didn't start dance until like my freshman year. I was like on the dance team. And like, I always thought I was a great dancer until chorus line. And then Christine was like, again, this is love Christine to pieces, but she's a very intense person. And she was like, I was a good dancer, but like, I don't have any of the background in it. So she's like, you don't dance like a dancer. And this is a show about dancers. So learn it. Yeah. Like, oh my God, but I So anyways, this year in particular, now I'm struggling to try and put together how to do a show because we want to do it for the middle. We got canceled. So COVID hit like the 11th of March, I think, is when we got the like put the kibosh on the play. And it was a Friday, and we were going to decide on Monday whether the kids got to come back or not. And so then that was it. Like there was nothing. There was no reaching out to them. There was no final like
Oh,
rehearsal. It was just everything that was on the stage is just left. We had like a week and a half before we perform, and it was just, oh my God, it was so dumb. But so then this year it's putting together all of these contingency plans where if we go distance, this is what we're going to do. And I would love to try a virtual show. And I've seen a couple, going through the like play scripts and that kind of stuff. Um, but I think it's going to be hard for their peers to watch,
yeah,
like something that's just on Zoom because they're on Zoom all the time. And so I think it would be hard to grab the attention of that age group with the virtual play.
right.
So I think my plan is I was supposed to do it. This is one of those things that I was going to do this weekend that I didn't get done. Um, is I'm going to try and do a stage play, and then we'll have a virtual play as a contingency. That's easy enough that the kids would be able to learn
Yeah,
in a 2-week turnaround. And
yeah.
yeah, so
We've been looking into doing some just some like stage readings of some plays that we could do virtually.
mhm.
For the Performing Arts Center here in Grand Rapids loves me and my talented friends that we have a group. It's an improv group.
I've
Um,
seen, yeah, yeah.
yeah, self-improvement. You've probably been seeing that. Taryn's a part of that now.
I was gonna say, I think she posted when she
Yeah, she
joined.
actually because we split up and we created a whole team within our team, an all girls improv team, and
Okay.
Taryn is one of the main performers on that team, and it's called Lady Parts.
Nice.
I know. Um, and so the Performing Arts Center, it's called the Rife Performing Arts Center here. They love us. They want us to work with them. We were going to be doing a Christmas show this past year, even in a virtual world. They had this whole plan, but it got scary because Taryn's pregnant, so
Mhm,
she wanted to like. She wasn't so worried so much, but we had another member of our group that is also pregnant, and she is in her 30s, and it's her first pregnancy, so she was
mhm,
really concerned
mhm,
for it. So she wanted to hold back on that. So
mhm,
we shelved the show because it just felt like the most responsible, especially now that restaurants were closing again at the beginning, like end of November, beginning of December. So it was like restaurants were closing and places were closing down again for stay safe orders. So I was like, I think we should probably tune
mhm,
this one out for a moment until we can do it. But so we've been trying to figure out different ways to perform for like our improv or whatever. But improv would be really tough to do virtually because we rely on audience participation and interaction and the applause and the laughter. It's important. It's what feeds us the energy. So
yeah,
without that, I don't know how to do it virtually. Uh,
yeah.
so we're kind of shelving that. So a few of us are starting a new web series that we're trying to create based in a Zoom world, in a world where you can only work from home. So
Yeah.
more on that later. You'll have to keep an eye on that because we actually, after our recording tonight, we have a meeting with that. And so
Nice.
I'm excited to see what we do there. And but when this one first started, the theater company here, Grand Rapids Players, they were doing Hunchback of Notre Dame,
Oh, I love it.
and Taryn was Esmeralda.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Oh, and then I didn't get to perform. That makes me so
It was
sad.
her first role with the Players officially. We did perform. I directed a show not this past summer, but the summer before, and she was in that, just a small bit role. Just that was her
Mhm.
first Players production.
Yeah.
But this was her first role she was cast in as a lead, and there was
Yeah.
a lot of drama for her to get that part too.
Yeah.
um, but she got the part of Esmeralda, and like they were getting so close, and it was there, you know. When the shutdown started happening, that was opening weekend.
Oh,
Yeah, so they rehearsed all this time
they
for,
were ready. Hmm.
yeah. So that was sad. So I was really looking forward to seeing Taryn as Esmeralda and stuff.
Yeah.
There was some more songs than just the one song from the movie. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it was really cool. But I'm sure one day, someday, who knows, we'll see. We're looking at other alternative ways to perform, but it's tough now in the world of COVID. It is
Mhm.
just ridiculous. Um, let's see. Trying to think. Oh, so I was gonna just kind of talk back about when we first met because honestly, I don't remember us having an official introduction with each other. I feel
No.
like we just kind of like we're here, let's hang out, and boom. We didn't like
Yeah.
my name's Ashley, my name's Aaron. Like it was like
Nope.
you're here, we're friends now. Let's just do
Yep.
this. Like that was the attitude I got from you. That was my
Absolutely.
perception. And it was essentially with everyone in that
Mhm.
cast, but you specifically. It was like
Well, I will say, I like my first opinion of you is definitely you were the most like flattering person I'd ever met in my life. So of course I like I'm like, you need to just be around me all the time.
I like to be that energy, even though sometimes, especially during those times where you were first meeting me, I was really reaching out for that kind of camaraderie and friendships there because I didn't have a lot of friendships in that community yet. And so I was trying to make friends, and so I was trying to make sure I was being the best version of myself, even though I was dealing with a lot of bullshit drama in my personal life. It was the one place I got to go and not have it worrying me, although
Yeah.
eventually it started to overwhelm me and I was always thinking of it, but
Yeah.
but for the most part
And it takes energy. Like you
yeah.
can be you and be the best you, but it takes energy to like push everything away to be the best you. And that, like that happened to me. There's a point in my life too where I was like, well, everybody knows me as like this happy person who goes out and has fun and has energy. And for the most part, that is, my natural. But like if you are on all the time, then you
Yeah,
get to a point where you're just like, I feel like I have to be that even on the terrible days, and
it's
that's that.
true. It's true. People like you and I get that expectation because people seeing us always bubbly and
Mhm.
positive and stuff. They don't really know that there's a lot going on in here that people
Yeah.
don't actually see.
Yep.
And that's just because the reason I don't show it all the time, because it's not really a burden I want to put on the rest of the world. All the stuff that's going on in my head. I'm pretty good with sharing stuff. And even back then, I was really good with sharing what was going on in my life. But I was very much in focused only on what was going on in my life, and I didn't really pay attention to what other people were going through.
Mhm.
And that made me a really tough person to be friends with because people wanted to be friends with me. I knew that about me. I could tell, but for some reason I wasn't capable of being a good friend to other people, though most people have shared positive interactions with me or have like, so that makes me feel good. But when I look back at sometimes I took advantage of people. I did. I not really in like you guys, but Quincy was probably one of my biggest victims a lot of times, and I didn't take advantage of him like I was trying to just use him and that's all he was there for. But I took advantage of our friendship a lot,
Mhm.
and so sometimes when I go back into these memories and stuff. I'm glad that people have positive things to say about who I was back then because there's a lot of times I'm not proud of the person I was then,
Mhm.
but it is
I think
nice. And I was actually going to ask you your first perception of me, and you answered it, and I was like, oh, this is
it
positive.
is. It's a good one. It's a good one.
But yeah, I it was, and that was a fun show. There was it, it was interesting. It was very interesting of a show to do because I remember Once Upon a Mattress they wanted to do honoring Carol Burnett, so it was
Yep.
very much a 1950s ish
It was.
soundstage, as if,
Yep.
and I was like, this is great.
And like shtick humor, but it was so great.
Yes, and everybody in that
And
cast.
Allison, I loved Allison in that
Alice,
too. She was so
she
good.
now she and I are trying to do a blast from the past episode, and it'll happen. But it's she's a little tough one to get on a schedule. But
Yeah.
now I am too. It's weird. I am doing way so much with all my podcasts, my lives, my YouTube. I feel like I'm a YouTuber and I'm a
Yeah.
social media influencer now, but I'm not that well known yet.
But I feel like that is, you don't just get that. You get that by having like when you messaged me and you're like, okay, here's like, do you want to do it tonight? And here's some good times. And I was like, you have times for things. I
I
was like,
have to
here's
schedule
sometime
these
let's do.
I have to schedule these things because like you as a parent, you have
Mhm.
a routine with your children, you and how you are helping them grow and what it is. This is,
Yep.
I don't have children, and I don't know if I ever want children. I love
Mhm.
children, and trust me, I really want to ask you where the name Alaric came from.
Yeah, so that was actually Dave. So we went through different names, and I was convinced, because we, let's see, I went out to Maine in June, and I didn't come home until October, I think, because I was kind of a selfish person at the time. And I did my theater, which was supposed to end in Labor Day. And then I decided to stay on a four schooner boat and live on a boat for a couple months
I never
instead of
knew
coming
this.
home. Yeah. And it was docked. Like it was, so we were out on, in Maine, and it was docked. It would dock. We just go for like a 2 hour sunset or whatever cruise. But we lived on the boat. And I lived actually in like a, it's kind of a storage building. It was like right next to a grocery store, and that's where the theater that I was part of, that's where their costumes were. So I lived in there for a little bit too. Like I was just very going through some shit. But anyways, my lord, what was I going? Oh, I totally lost my track. I was like, oh my god, I was looking at it. But oh yeah, so when I came home, I was like 5 or 6 months along, and so people are like, well, are you gonna find out if it's a boy or girl? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna. They're like, but you're so far along, and I was like, but I'm gonna. But I'm sure it's gonna be a girl, and I'm gonna name her Acadia because I think that's a beautiful name, and it has throws back to Maine, which I loved. And I'm so glad she wasn't a girl, and I'm so glad her name isn't Acadia, because like that again, that's we look back on things and our how we treated people, and I was very selfish during that point of my life, I think, because it was kind of a spiral, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a baby and this needs to be all about me, because as soon as this baby comes, it's not going to be about me, forgetting that I had this wonderful person that made this child with me, that I was kind of being an asshole to. So
Sure.
but anyways, so then we came back, and he was like, well, here's my boy names. I really want to do a name that has ties to our heritage. So it's actually an old German name, but a lot. He will know this at some point in his life, and I should probably say it quietly so he doesn't learn it right now. But it means ruler of all, and this child is very like, we can't tell him that's what his name means, because he'll be like,
Is he
I'm gonna
already living
rule
that?
everyone.
I actually do know the origin of that name,
Oh,
because
nice.
at the same time you named him that, I was really into the show The Vampire Diaries.
Yeah. Oh, yes, there is, because it's
There's a
Alaric
character,
and Dame. Is it Damien or Damon?
Damien,
Damien. Okay.
or
I
Damon,
have since watched
Damon
some of the
Salvatore,
Vampire Diaries.
Damon.
Yeah.
But Alaric was one of the characters too. They called him Rick.
Okay.
His full name was Alaric, and I was like, this name, like now like you're the only person. And I was like, okay, that's an original name for a kid. I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. And I was worried for you. I was worried that a lot of people were gonna be like, oh, did you name him that because you're a fan of Vampire Diaries? Did you get
Yeah.
that?
One gal that is a writer in from Duluth named her son Damien, and so then and he's like maybe 6 months younger than Alaric. So she was like, "Oh my gosh, your son's name is," or maybe he's older, and she was like, "My son's name is Damien. They have to be friends."
Oh, because Damon and
Damien, that's it. Yeah.
Alaric are best friends on the show. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Even though they've killed each other once or twice on the show, who's
Don't
counting?
spoil it. What if I want? I'm just kidding.
Oh, please, everyone dies in that show and comes back to life once or twice in the whole series. So, don't,
So I'm
like,
dead. All right.
but it is a good show to watch. I'm not gonna lie. It's
Yeah.
actually, so it's got such a legacy because Vampire Diaries started in 2009, and then they had a spin-off show called The Originals that lasted until just a couple years ago, and now they have a spin-off from that called Legacies, which
Okay.
actually Alaric is on.
Ooh, nice. Well, now
Yeah.
it's gonna be okay. So David's name is David. My name is Ashley. And David's even worse. Like, my original name was Ashley Matheson. So
Yep.
like there's not a ton of Mathesons in the world, but like David's name is David Jones. There are 5 bajillion David Joneses in the world. Like, so
You know what's
that was
really,
another part. Yeah,
you know
that's
what's
another
really
part why we named him the name that we did, because we wanted it to be original, because we grew up with, 5 million, like there was always 5 Ashleys in the room. Like, that's just my life. But then now with Aurora, I was like, well, Aurora isn't very common. Aurora is now Ashley. There's so many Auroras in the world. Like, she literally had a daycare that had like 10 kids, and one of them's name was Aurora. And I was like, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's still a gorgeous name.
I do. I love it very much. But yeah, I'm like, oh, honey,
Yeah.
you'll know my woes.
It's nice to say I knew you before you were a parent, but it is parenthood definitely suits you. You definitely
Oh,
oh yeah, I've watched you and David with Lark like him growing up with you since he
yeah.
was a baby on social media, mind you, but
Yep.
it's still been fun to watch that journey.
Yeah.
Like does he still have big red hair?
He does. So it's like when he was born, like it was, and we actually didn't know his name until he was born. Like we had three names. It was we were gonna call him Leo, but Leonidas was one of them.
Okay.
Alaric and Caspian was the other.
Ooh,
Um,
Caspian would have been a
yes,
good
and
one.
that was like mine. I was like, oh, I love that. But then when he came out, he was just like, and this red hair came out of nowhere because Dave's like a dirty blonde, and I was super dark, and like he has red in his hair, and I have a lot of like my cousins are redheads,
Yeah.
so like it's in our family. But it was like copper red, and I was like, oh my god, what is this child? And now he has the most beautiful like strawberry blonde hair. Like sometimes he just looks like a blonde, but then like I'll take a picture of him, and I'm like, oh no, you still have this like beautiful red tint to your hair, and he has green eyes too. I'm like, you're just that's what I wanted in life.
Right. Well, is there any other memory you can think of with us that I mean, okay, there's one other memory, but I feel that it's kind of an interesting memory to share.
Ooh, okay.
That would be your wedding.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was.
Uh,
I will say, nothing against my ex. He was a wonderful
oh,
person and
sure,
a
sure.
very very good friend.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we should have got married, because we literally didn't live together 3 months before we got married, and
Sure.
never lived together as a married couple, and then got divorced before we ever lived together. So,
Sure.
mind you, we had lived together for like 7 or 8 years prior to us getting married. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we just wanted different things, and I think it was a almost an obligation because we've been together for so long. It's like
Like it was
it's
almost
like
like
to get married,
everybody was just expecting it. I mean, you got
yeah,
married on the Duluth Playhouse stage for crying
right,
out loud.
yep,
I mean, and I was your stage manager. You had a
yes,
freaking stage manager and a playbill. Like, I mean, we were definitely
and
musical.
tickets and everything.
Yes, we had it was musical theater. I mean, I still use
Yeah,
photos from that day.
yep,
Um, being your stage manager for your wedding was just I'm like, well, you know what? I'm like, I don't know if that could be if I could have been asked to be a higher role in this thing.
right. No,
And I still got demanding with all your
yeah,
wedding party. I'm
just
like,
do it.
places, people. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like this was a serious thing.
Yeah.
And that was fun. But that was I think the last time, and I think I had a performance that I had to stage manage after. And April and I think raced up to your
The reception after?
reception all the way up at the Shriners up in.
Yep.
Ugh, and well, we got there, we did it, we hung out, and it was fun. And I was glad that, but I really think that was the last time we actually got to hang out before everything changed.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was so long ago.
I know. It is crazy to think like how long, even like just out of Duluth, like every now and then I'll see like because Erin and I still talk a lot, and Paige and I, and so like with Erin, I know she's still involved, and so like she'll be doing a show, and I'm like, oh my God, like it has been how long since I last performed? Like I feel like so like they're not my people. I mean, they are my people, but now they found other people,
Yes.
like
Like
it's
I feel like am I being forgotten about? Am I just a memory to
yeah,
people in
memory.
that's and that's the thing is there are a lot of people that are memories in mine, but I still feel that like we're part of each other's lives. And
Mhm.
that's why I do these episodes for my show, is because there are still people I don't get to talk to often, but we do pay attention to what each other are doing in their lives. And it's like I pay attention to you. You said you pay attention to me.
I
A lot
do.
of times we don't get to interact with each other on
Yeah.
social media because it's like if I did that with everybody on social media, I would spend my entire day just liking and commenting on
Yes.
everybody's things going on and saying happy birthday and sharing memories. So every now and then I just kind of reach out to random people and then we
Yeah.
start talking. And as we're sharing the memories, I'm like, okay, you're doing an episode with me.
Yeah. Well, and two, it's like, I give Dave crap about it because I'm like, I've got a couple friends from high school, and we are like, very interactive with each other. Like we'll talk a lot. But otherwise, there's so many people that like Dave will have like his best friends, and he will talk to them once like every 4 or 5 months. And I'm like, how do you do that? But then like it's the same thing. Like you have such like strong connections with people from the things that you've gone through, that even if you don't talk to them for years and years and years, like we can sit down and have an hour-long conversation,
Mhm.
and it's not, I don't feel forced, like it's
Yeah.
just hanging.
I yeah, I'd rather just like have a conversation. But that's what my whole podcast is about. I call it "To Be Fair" because it's literally to be fair. We have to, just kind of do it.
Mhm.
I started this podcast after a few years of talking about doing a podcast with other friends. Like, oh, let's do it. Let's talk about this. What should we do? And then I realized talking, 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 and less doing, doing, doing. And I realized that I was relying on a lot of other people to do things too.
To
And
put in the effort, do the work.
yeah, like that's what I felt like. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put in the research. I'm gonna put in the time. I'm gonna put in all this, and I'm gonna start the podcast.
Mhm.
And there are a few that are bitter at me because I'm doing it, and I'm doing it quite successfully without them. They're like, "Oh, when do I get to be involved?" I'm like, "When you could have been involved in the get go." Like, sorry, maybe your time will come. It's not a bitterness thing. It's just I'm not gonna let people jump on to what I'm already
Mhm.
working my butt towards.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what else you up to? Like, what anything you want to say about your what? Uh,
Perfectly posh.
thank
No
uh,
problem. Um,
sorry, I just feel
no,
like
not
I'm a
really.
a bad
That's
host. I didn't
okay.
do my research on my guest.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I don't really, so well, right now the exciting thing about it for me is we are in another incentive period. So that's when we get to like work to earn things. And so right now it's Jamaica in June, and I really want to go. It's
I
huge.
really need to get involved in doing this kind of stuff because
It's
clearly I'm not doing my social media the right way.
it's so cool. So like when we were in Cancun, so another thing um that I found was this quarantine karaoke. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a Facebook group. Are you familiar? You don't know about this?
No. Wait,
Oh my god, I'm sorry. You're gonna be
I
addicted.
feel like there's so many different like artistic outlet things that came out from the quarantine. Like
Yeah.
I feel like there was something with karaoke, but I don't think it was one you were involved in. So it might have been a
So
separate.
I'm not. I mean, only in the sense that I'm part of the group and I go on and I sing karaoke every now and then. Which, oh my lord, like I used to. You talk about like your strengths, and I was definitely a actor, dancer, singer. Like I liked to sing, but
Yeah.
it terrified the shit out of me. Like when I had to sing like my solo in Sound of Music, I was like I would cry about it. I'm like, I just it's gonna be so bad, and I'm so nervous. Um, where now, and don't get me wrong, I still get nervous and I forget to breathe, and then I'll be singing and it'll just like stop, and I'll be like, oh, that's what no oxygen does. Um, but now like we sing like that's Dave and I's like fun thing to do is the kids will go to bed and on a Friday night we'll turn on like YouTube karaoke and we'll sing karaoke for like hours in
Oh
our
my
house,
God.
just the two of
You
us.
need to invite me over on a Friday night.
Yes. We'll like do a Zoom call, and yes. Um, so then we found this group called Quarantine Karaoke. Actually, one of my other friends that I met through the direct sales world was like, "Oh yeah, there's this group," and so there's like 500,000 people in this group, and it's all walks of life. There are professional singers like Nashville that are coming on and doing it, and you're like, "Oh my god, you're amazing," whatever. And then there are people who are not to be rude, but there are like terrible singers, like almost the fact that I feel like they know it, but they don't care. And nobody else cares. Like there's a couple trolls that'll be on there, but they're really quick to boot them. And it is just this super positive, like you go on and you sing not because you're amazing at it, but because you feel it. So, anyways, the whole point of this little story is when I was in Cancun, we did it one night. I was like, they were supposed to be karaoke, and then they didn't because of COVID. They were like, no, we can't. So then like we went to one of the like presidential suites and we set up and we did quarantine karaoke, and it was the most fun. And so I've got all of these posh people now like in this group. And so, and there's some talented singers in that world. So I'm like, go on, I want to see you. So like, I don't even remember where I was going with this other than the incentive trip. Oh, it was so much fun because we were like doing this quarantine karaoke. And so now in Jamaica, everyone's like, so they're in Cabo right now. They leave on Monday. It was a trip that I didn't earn. And then, and yes, there's that many trips that you can earn, which is so fun. But so then they're like, well, we're not going to have quarantine karaoke. You're not going to be our like hostess here. I'm like, well, I'll work to earn Jamaica. So yeah,
Yeah.
so right now my biggest thing, sales, I'm pretty good at sales because I love the product myself. So it's easy for me to just be like, this shit makes my feet not crack and I love it. And so then people know that there are some things that I'll be like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the smell. And you might be. but I don't like it. And I'm not gonna lie and be like, it's amazing, everything's amazing.
Right.
But the recruiting part is always hard for me because that's where I find like when I entered this world, I didn't want people to like know that I was like big into direct sales because I didn't want people to be like, oh, you're just gonna like cold message me and be like, come join my team. And that's not who I am. So that part I struggle with a little bit, but yeah, so if I can get a couple more people to join me between now and March, so I need two more people in January. And then if I can get two in January, two in February, two in March, then I'll get to go to Jamaica. So
Nice.
it's pretty exciting, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're gonna wrap up this recording, and
Yeah.
don't worry, once I end the recording, you don't have to hang up. We'll talk.
Okay.
But for now, yeah, let's just go ahead and wrap it up. And I want to thank you so much, Ashley, for joining me on this episode.
Thanks for inviting me, giving me a reason to put the makeup on my face. It was great.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone else, for tuning in to this episode of To Be Fair, a podcast hosted by Aaron Jordan Peterson. And this has been Blast from the Past.